Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you. I'm going to be doing yet another case review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Corsair Obsidian 750D. Now I did make a little, I'm not going to say a hint, but I took an educated guess that something would be coming, because first of all we had the 900D and then they brought out the 350D. And there was a gap in the middle because we had like XL ATX and EATX and ginormous 900D. Then we had 350D with MATX, and it kind of left a gap in the middle. And for me, it was bloody obvious that this was coming. I hadn't at that point in time been told by Corsair it was coming, but it was a bit like when I did my K60 TTL edition and I put that live, you know, because I basically I bastardised a K60 and a K90 and kind of made the only K60 that ever lit up. When I did that, Corsair kind of turned around to me and went, well, actually, you so-and-so, we are going to be making our own one. It's going to be called the K70. And I was like, oops. And then when I I did the 350 review, I said, I reckon we're going to have another one. I'm going to hazard a guess it's going to be called the 750D and be for ATX stuff. And that was kind of another point when they went, not meant to tell you about this yet, but you're right again, you bastard. And everyone starts, you know, going around saying, oh, you're telling Dom stuff, and they're not. It's pretty bloody obvious when this type of stuff's going to be happening. So we now have, for the first time really, a little bit of kind of a design and a theme and branding going through the whole Obsidian range. Now I know there's still the 550D about, but to be fair, I like what they've done with this. I think the kind of Obsidian name needs to be about like stupidly high-end and, you know, performance, full-on enthusiast stuff. I think the 550D with the aluminium front and the sound deadening is a little bit confused in the brand lineup, and I kind of think that these three kind of work, and that the quiet kind of sound deadening type, you know, silent, almost server type cases need to have a little bit of their own identity, because now you can actually see these are brothers and sisters, or as I like to call them, baby bear, mummy bear and daddy bear. It's yes, you know, one's too salty, one's too flipping sweet, and the other one's just right. So yes, madness. But I have to admit, when I first found out the price of this thing, I was actually really shocked, and it has been here for a little while, but I'll say to you, at the very start of this video, it's £135. So for me, with a Corsair case, I'm kind of already, and this may sound strange, but I'm not kind of expecting a lot, because we already know that Corsair cases are, that, you know, they are well built and stuff, but they generally do carry a little bit more of a price premium compared to some of the other brands and other cases out there. So I have to admit, when it arrived and I started building into this thing, I was pleasantly surprised. And yes, that is my phone going off in the background if you can actually hear it. But anyway, so we've obviously got the Big Daddy, which is just no holds barred, massive window, massive water cooling, you know, price and every water cooling opportunities, possibilities. That's the word I'm looking for, and carries a pretty hefty price premium with it. You've got a nice little baby case, which I have to admit, because of the fact that you can get the H100 in the roof, it's got decent airflow. It does look quite nice. This one, I actually think is one of the I'm going to say better MATX cases out there, because let's face it, the amount of MATX cases out there that don't have this big window or don't have the H100 you know, proper support. You can also mess around with the front if you want. There was a lot of boxes. This little thing ticked and managed to keep the price, you know, really competitive. So for this, and when you can see it, you can see you know, a nice step up in between these ranges. I'd almost go as far as to say it's identical, the size difference between them. But for this to come in at 135 quid, you want to stay tuned, because it does deliver a lot. But what I'm going to do now I tell you what, getting these ready is mental, because I've got, in that one, you've got a Rampage Extreme and a 4960X. In this one, you've got a Maximus 6 Formula, and a 780 DC2. In this one, you've got a Maximus 6 Formula, 4770K and a GTX 770 DC2. And in this one, I actually run out of Corsair power supplies because my RM's not turned up yet. but we've got a Maximus 6 Gene in here at the moment, and it's waiting for a 760. Can also see something that's going to be coming up review-wise in a not too distant future, can't you? Yes, I'm immensely busy. I know I haven't had a lot of coffee because it's fairly late now. What is it? Nearly 9 o'clock, gone 9 o'clock. And yeah, so I'm actually on my guzzling my Volvic at the moment. But anyway, I'm boring you enough. We need to get on with a review. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you in, and we will do this as we have done all the other ones and try and remind myself again what our format is and works. So get yourself comfy, get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself some biscuits, and I'll try and stop talking like a cockney. Okay then, peeps. So what we'll do is, first of all, we'll just look the case up and down, because you can easily see how similar this does look to the 350D and the 900D, and that's one of the bits I really like about it. The front and the sides, it does just tie them together as a whole nice big family, and it's really nice to see that kind of the design pattern, you know, passing through the rest of the family. And it, for the first time now, you're going to know this is an Obsidian. And what I kind of mean is that with some of the other ones, you'd know it was a Corsair case, but you might not necessarily know exactly what it's called. This, if you see the little baby Corsair, you're going to know it's an Obsidian because you might have seen the 750, you might have seen the 900. So it's really nice. But anyway, so what we'll do, we're at the top, where we always end up starting. We've got two USB 2s, two USB 3s, headphone, microphone, little reset switch, which is kind of slightly recessed, so you have to, you know, mean to press it if you're going to press it. And then you've got the power button in the middle. And again, this all kind of matches what we've seen on the other cases. Now, what I will say is that the 350D has got 2 optical bays, the 750D has got 3, and then the 900D, oh, guess what? It's got 4, so it kind of fits really nicely in between. And you can see that we've got this aluminium front again. And I can't remember whether these are unclipped from the back or the front. They do unclip from the back. But anyway, what I'll do is I'm going to remove this part so that I can show you again. We have got a proper aluminium front. It's plastic backed, which is why it's an absolute pain in the arse to try and paint this alley. And anyone that works in a body shop is going to know that if you can't get the metal off the front, how are you meant to paint aluminium when it's got plastic on the back? There'll be body shop people out there now chuckling away, knowing exactly what I talk about, but I'm not going to start trying to explain it to everybody else. But anyway, so we've got the alley, which is obviously right the way up the front, well, on the optical bays as well. And this is actually, no, that's alley too. I was sort of surprised. I did think that was plastic. Shows how much attention I've been making. Right, so when we move down, there is a dust filter. Ta-da! Lovely dust filter as well, and that's covering up 240mm fans. Now, you can see that we've got a little bit of a recess here. Now, the dust filter goes near enough right up against the fans, and then we've got, I'm going to measure. Oh yes, boys, I'm going to measure. We've got, I'd say 8mm of room that the fans can breathe out down the side here. Now, I had to admit that when I first saw the design, oh, let me get this in, because I need to sit it back in the right place. There's 2 little tabs on the front, and I always put it in the outside one. If you have a look, that's for the main plate, and that's where I keep putting the dust filter, but the dust filter goes further in. I didn't think that there would be enough room there, but I've got to admit, peeps, it doesn't. You don't get a lot of airflow noise from those fans at the front. And by airflow noise, I mean where it's going in and all round all these angles and stuff. Sometimes you can end up with airflow noise. Don't get really any airflow noise there, and there is plenty of airflow there as well, so it's not being restricted. If anything, I'd go as far as to say it can end up even making it sound a little bit quieter. As you can see, I need more practice putting the front on, but it's not ridiculously hard. It's really nice, actually. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to spin the case around and we'll have a look at the roof. And we'll do it as we normally do, and we will work our way around. Okay then peeps, so this is part of the roof that actually makes, the roof is really how you can tell the difference between the cases. And by that I mean we've got like a checkered mesh over the top of the 900D with like dust filtering underneath. The 350D is nothing, you can just see the, you know, like the stamp in the top of the case. But the 750, I prefer it. Because that's what the top of the 350D looks like, it's just all bare. But they've got like this magnetic, and I'm going to say it's a dust filter, but it's not really going to, you know, protect it from dust really. It's just some mesh, and to be fair, when you put it over the top, some good strong magnets on this as well, much better than the ones in the side of the 900D. Anyway, when you put that over the top, it just makes it look so much tidier. But anyway, if we bust, boom, if we bust the roof off, what we can see is we've got a hell of a lot of meshing up here and a hell of a lot of mounts as well. Now if we have a look, that we can see that we've got room up here for 360mm rad. We will talk more on the inside when we get to talk about it, but you can also stick a 420mm rad up here as well, which is three 140mm fans, so 3 times 140 fan radiator, or 3 times 120mm radiator up there as well. You can obviously go for singles and triples if you want, and I will talk about thickness more when we get onto the inside. But I'm going to put this back on for the minute. Like I said, it does tidy that up lovely, and I think this was what the 350D was missing. Anyway, so we've done that. Now we need to go and have a look around at the backside, baby. Hokey choked in, so we're going to have a look around her backside, and by that I mean the kind of this bit rather than the back panel. She's got 2 backsides. It's a cheek each. So right, we've got a meshed area at the top here when we work at the top, and we move down and we've got a 140mm fan that comes fitted. There are actually 2 in the front, as you've seen as well. So those are the 3 fans that you get fitted in the case. 2 140s in the front, 140 also in the back. Now you can also swap these out for a 120 should you wish. Now, moving down, surprisingly, we're going to count the expansion slots, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it will take an XL ATX extra long board, just like the Fractal did. Yeah, anyway, so we'll leave that there. We're going to save that for the conclusion. Down at the bottom we do have a power supply, which you can obviously fit whichever way round you like, because obviously I like to have mine with the fan pointing up because it makes no difference. And it does have a dust filter as well. Lovely. So if you want to run it with your fan pointing downwards, you can do. Personal preference, boys and girls, but I always run mine up. Anyway, so right, now what we're going to do is I'm going to rejig the camera again, and I'm going to bust the back panel off for you. Well, not bust it off, I'm going to unscrew it, but yeah. Okay then, boys and girls, I'm going to take this off with you on camera, and you can see that there's a little bit of spring there, but there's a reason for it, and that's because the door just latches in at the front. So what you do is you just clip it in, and then you push and hold it on, and you can literally just hold it on with one finger, put your screw in down the bottom, put another screw in, easy peasy. There's no worrying about with little sliders and stuff. If you've had a lot of cases, you'll know that them little things, slidey things at the top, they get bent all the time, you end up having to hold them on. Just ends up being a complete ball ache, and it does make it a lot simpler. Now I've used no zip ties on this back panel at all. Now I could have done, but the reason why I didn't is because if you have a mammoth amount of cables in here, because you've got a non-modular power supply, or you've got extensions which obviously add extra cable in and everything, I'm trying to show you, not necessarily a worst case scenario, I'm trying to show you that if you're not that picky about your cables, you can still just get the door on, and like I said, you put the top one in, hold the bottom one in, screw the bottom one in, job's done. So it can be really easy. Now I'm obviously using the Corsair individually braided cables in here as well, and you know what I mean? It was really nice to work with. I could have made this stupidly tidy, because there are plenty of grommets. There are plenty of the little hold downs for zip ties. I mean, they're all up the side here. They're down near these. I mean, these horizontal grommets. I love these so much. Rather than just one at the bottom, they've done it this way around, and it does make a lot of difference. And like I said, you can see I've not made any effort really, because I've got, you know, big cables going over the top of the 24-pin cables. And anyway, so there is loads of, like I said, cable grommets, tie downs. The way that they've done these little ports at the top, so you can get your fan cables through, real nice and easy. There's more access here as well, and these kind of cable routing points for your water cooling radiator, it's going to be no end of help for you. And I really do mean that, because you'll be able to get things tidy, which is obviously our #1 game when we start thinking about water cooling. We want it to be pretty. So also to talk about round the back, you can see here, first chance you've had a chance to see is the solid state drive mounts, bays, whatever you want to call it. And there's 4 here. You don't have to have them clipped in if you don't want to. You can't access them from the front. You can only really get them at them from the back. But it's just a simple clip. And I've actually got one of the new Force LS solid state drives in here. Now, one thing I will say is they're made for the 9mm thick. Some of the solid state drives are 7 now, so there can be a little bit of movement in there. But when it's on your desk, you're not going to have to worry about it. If you really, really want to get fussy about it, there are little mounts in the side, so you can screw in place, and then they'll be absolutely fixed. As you can see, all I've done is I've just pushed it in, and that's all you have to do. See, like that, lovely bubbly. Solid state drive in, thank you very much. Clip it in. That's it, fitted. So it's if you want to have it so they're absolutely fixed, you can just use the screws. But to be fair, once it's on your desk and it's all built, you really don't need to worry about it. So it's a, you know, it's a choice down to you. It does come with screws for all of these if you do want to screw them in. So yeah, it's all lovely really. The only thing I'm not 100% keen on is for the hard drive rack on the other side, which I'll show you in a minute. There is a big cutout here which hasn't got a grommet, but I will get to that in a sec. And just in case anyone's wondering, this the Sata cables that I've got, it's Sata power, and it's 4 Sata power into a single Molex, and I did that just so it was tidy, and mainly because with the extension cables it would have been an absolute nightmare to have gotten through. But anyway, it's a phobia one. They're about 10 or 15 quid. I had these when I was planning that mental raid thing, until I kept breaking raid cards. Sorry, not breaking, bottlenecking raid cards. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to move to the other side. I was just wiping the front of the case off then, because I dropped it against the wall just a minute ago and there's blue paint all over it. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to spin it round the other side now, and I'm actually going to show you the guts and all the glory and what we've got built on the inside. Okay then peeps, so onto the main side, and I'm unscrewing this while I've got you on camera, because I wanted to show you the lovely big side panel. It does go just slightly past the drive bays, you can see it, and it is slightly tinted as well, which is what I wanted to show you. And I'm really getting into that kind of smoke stroke tinted look. Now when we open it, we can see it does come with the hard drive cages down here, and they do come fitted down here as well. The actual, it's just over half of the hard drive bay is covered up by the front fans. But what I want to do is I'm going to rejig the camera, because I did want to take the side panel off with you in view. But I'm going to rejig the camera so that we can look at, you know, different bits in better light and stuff. But one thing I will say, while we've got this side off, is that you can unscrew these hard drive bays. They're on 120mm fan mounts in the bottom. So what I'm going to do while you're off camera is I'm just going to unscrew these quickly, so that they're off for the rest of it, so that we can talk about all the other stuff quite openly and everything. And yeah, so I will be back in a shake of a lamb's tail. Okie dokie then peeps. So as you can see, I've whizzed the hard drive bays out of this side, and they literally are just on little screws, go in the bottom, 120mm fan mount, so you can put 2 more fans in the bottom should you wish, but you can have that in there. You can have just one in there. You can have one on that side if you want, and we'll talk about water cooling more in depth in a little minute. But anyway, so one thing we can see here now is 1, 2, 3, 4 solid state drives up there, which it is nice that you can kind of make a feature of them. I spent hours just confused and not knowing what I wanted to do, and you know, spent ages buggering around with my Orca rig trying to make a feature of the solid state drives, and Corsair have now done it. So click, 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 bosh, done, and you can see them through your main window as well. So it's something that you can show off to your mates. Looks better in photos rather than have them hidden away in drive bays or doing what I did and having to mod the hell out of your case just to try and show them off, because they're not cheap. You think that you might end up spending £150 on a motherboard, £300 on a graphics card. You can end up spending more money than your motherboard on your solid state drive if you're talking about buying like a 240 gigabyte drive or something. I've got 2 480s in mine, so there's a hell of a lot of money's worth there. And to hide them away would almost seem criminal. So this, I think, is a really, really nice touch. And I have to admit, when I first, and I do mean when I first saw this, I didn't think I was going to like it, and it has won me over. Now, also, I said to you had 9 expansion slots in the back, so it does mean, although there's not the screw mounts for the bottom of the motherboard, you could technically, if you wanted to, get an XL ATX motherboard in it, and there wouldn't be, any issues at all. Also, if like with the Rampage formula, you wanted to have your graphics card in the bottom here, and it was 2 slots, you could not only get your graphics card in, but then some of the older motherboards and stuff, or people may still have expansion things for the back, like the NZXT have got those braided cable lights. If you had a graphics card in the bottom here, which took up 2 slots, you could then still have your little switch for your LEDs for the rest of your case in this bottom one. So they've given you loads of options. But also, if you have a look here, we can see, now these are motherboard standoffs, because apart from the one in the middle, the motherboard standoffs are in the case, and you end up screwing your motherboard straight into the case. Where this is wider, this could actually fit the Asus Dual Xeon board, or if you're fucking insane, something like the waste of silicon EVGA SRX. But you have got that extra row of mounts there should you want to use it. But one thing I will say is, if you do end up using one of those enormous boards, then you're not going to be able to use the cable mounting holes. Something that I did pick up on as well was, if you're using something like the Rampage 4 Extreme, the Rampage actually hangs off of the little off the motherboard standoffs a bit, and a lot of the time the cable grommets are right up against the side of where a normal motherboard would be. So the Rampage normally kind of hangs over grommets a bit. Well, they've actually sat these grommets out a little bit, and I actually really like that as well, because it does make things easier with getting a nice loop on your individually braided cables, or if you really want to pull them in tight as well, you can. But for something like that bigger board, you're not having to wedge it round the motherboard and stuff. So they've actually made it a lot easier for other motherboards in there as well. Now, in the roof, from the roof to the top of the motherboard, because that's what I always go to. And people keep asking me why I do this. Top of the motherboard, that may be like 5mm difference that you'll get with some motherboards where something will be sat ever so slightly lower. You need to remember that I'm going to make this video and it could get watched 25, 50,000 times, and every single person could be running, marginally different kit. So what I always say is, above the motherboard, that's your kind of safe cooling area for radiators and fans and the like. Anything, that drops in below your motherboard, past that point, that's your own kind of risk territory that you need to work out with your own configuration. So we will say, above, and it's pretty simple to work out, but we will say above the width, you're looking at pretty much 88mm. So when you think about that, what you need to say to yourself is, right, a fan is 25mm thick. So we've got 25mm, and then that means that we've got kind of 63mm left, which means that we could get a 60mm rad in the roof and a set of fans, or if you think about it, 30 plus 2 lots of 25, so 25, 25, that's 80. Yeah, all right. 25, 25, that's 50, plus the 30 for the radiator, that's 80. So you could get, like we've got here, a H100i in push-pull, and it all sits above the motherboard, which is the most critical thing. It's pretty much been absolutely millimetre designed to get a 60mm rad in the roof, basically with a single set of fans, or push-pull the H100i. And as you can see, we've got big heat sinks here, and believe me, it is like mil perfect to the top of the motherboard as well. If it was like, yeah, it's absolutely perfect for fitting a H100i in push-pull, basically. Right, so what we do need to do now is I'm just going to move the old camera a bit, because I want to give you a slightly different view. There you go, you can see the fans in the front there now, and the really nice openness that we've got there, and you can see that there's a mammoth amount of room. Now you can get a 240mm radiator in front, should you wish, which is 2 times 120mm fans. All the mounts are there as well. It's actually, you've got the 15mm gaps for your radiator as well. Perfect. But you can also put a 280mm in the front as well if you want. Now, we can see that there's a fair old bit of room here, and I do mean a fair old bit of room. So we're going to go, let's go up to the grommets, which is fucking loads. Now, to be fair, peeps, there's so much fucking room in here. I don't really even need to kind of talk about it too much, because let's say we're going to go push-pull fans. So we need 50mm there. If we go a 60mm rad, that means we need 110mm. So 60 plus 50, we need 110mm minimum gap to be able to get a 60mm thick radiator in there in push-pull. We need 130mm if we're going to have a monster radiator in there, so a proper, like, massive thicko in the front. Well, if we go to just the front of these grommets, here, there's 170mm gap there. To put that into context, you could bolt an MITX motherboard in this gap and there would be enough room. There's going to be some crazy ass fucking modder that's going to do it now, but anyway, so you can get, water cooling wise, in this case, 240 or a 280mm radiator in the front, 60mm thick, push-pull, not a problem. You can even get an 80mm thick monster 240 radiator in the front of this case in push-pull. Couple that to the fact that you can get a 360mm or a 420mm radiator in the roof, 60mm thick in push-pull, with a single set of fans, or if you go to a 30mm thick, you can go push-pull. So for argument's sake, with the all-in-one units like the H100, and just for the sake of being fair, like the NZXT X60, because it does support 140mm fans in the roof with both a 15 and 20mm gap. So you can get both of those all-in-one units in the roof, in push-pull, absolutely, you know, doddle, just bolts in, no, you know, worrying whatsoever. So if I move the camera back, I'm trying to do this without tripping over my mic. It is, to be fair, and don't forget, we're talking about a case here, it's 130 quid. You've got some, the cooling options are pretty epic. I have to admit, if I had a radiator in the front and a radiator in the roof, I would spin the rear fan round so it was intake in. I've done that on Orca. I'm actually pretty proud of it, to be fair, and by proud of it I mean it did make a difference in temps. But it's also kept dust down. Dust was the biggest thing. I would probably put dust filter on the bottom of the case, but we're turning into a bit of a modding guide now and I don't really want that. So just to recap, there's acres of room for expansion slots down the back. People did have mentioned that they were worried about cooling. Honestly, peeps, there's very little between the case temperatures nowadays, and it does get to a point where, how are you meant to run the fans? Do you run them at 12 volts when no one's really going to do it? Or do you end up doing temperature tests where you end up doing 12 volts, 7 volts, 5 volts? And everything just ends up getting so bloody complicated because you can have all of that in, and then what happens if, you know, we always run a H100 in the roof. Well, what happens if one of the cases it doesn't fit in the roof, and then that's going to affect temperatures, and it kind of makes the graphs pointless. And everyone's got their own assumptions, but there is ample airflow at the front. That's all you need to know. And if you want it quiet, your temperatures are going to go up a bit. If you want your temperatures to go down, you turn the fans up a bit. It's pretty bloody simple. It's not rocket science, but plenty of cable grommets. My only bugbear is this open area here where the hard drive cables can get routed through. I think it would have been nice to have at least had some kind of plastic clip to have gone over that, just to have been able to have hidden it if you don't want to use it. I understand why it's there, I just don't understand why you can't cover it up. So that's pretty much my the review side of things sorted. Obviously, if you want to talk about reservoirs in the case, you can put them in the optical bays. There's an optical bay there if you're mad enough to still be using an optical drive, and then there's 2 bays there if you want to use a bay res. There's plenty of places down this point here. You could easily put a tube res, you could bolt a tube res to the fans on your radiator. There's loads of options there, really. In fact, this has been one of the Corsair cases that has actually kind of sparked off my, yes, I could cut this, I could drill that, I could do this and I could do that. And you never know, I might end up doing it. But the long and short of it is, as far as, no, we are drastically getting into a conclusion now. So while I've still got verbal diarrhea, what I'm going to do is we're going to move on now and we will go into a conclusion. Okay then peeps, so moving on to a conclusion, and I'm going to say the award and then I'll kind of explain why, and it's not going to surprise any people. In fact, it's probably going to feed the trolls at the point when I say it's an absolute no-brainer. Gold award. Now, quite a lot of, because obviously I've got like friends and stuff locally, and the boys come round, and you know, this has been a topic of discussion, quite heated, between some of us and even some of the members of the OC3D team that obviously work separately from TTL Towers. I've known for pretty much since I first glanced at this thing that I wanted to give it a gold award, and the rig and stuff has been sat around in it because we got the case quite a while ago. But in the meantime, and this was one of the reasons why, if you noticed, when I did the Fractal Arc XL review, it had MSI kit in it. It's the first time I've used the yellow and black MSI kit and anything different. It's because some of the black and red stuff was a little bit busy sat in this. And people have said to me, well, how can you give the Arc a gold award if you know you're going to give this gold award? And you kind of, it does get a little bit, you know, complicated. But you can't just have just one gold award kind of floating around there. And the Arc in itself is a very, very good case. And the only really negative point of it was lack of 60mm water cooling support. But my problem was, I'd already seen this. I already knew that, you know, Corsair had kind of ticked boxes already. And all I would kind of say is, with a lot of these things, they are going to do a very, very similar job. The Corsair is obviously more hardcore enthusiast based. The fact that we have got that 360 rad support, 60mm thick, 420mm rad support, 60mm thick. We've got multiple options for, you know, 120mm and 140mm radiators in the front. Both monster, you know, 60mm thick monsters, both in push-pull, solid state drive, you know, mounts down the side. Lovely, lovely grommets. We've still got that XL motherboard support if you really want to use it, or at least you've got, you know, extra expansion slots at the bottom. You know, they are kind of, they're very similar, and it's just the water cooling that really kind of splits them up. Now, one thing I will say is the Corsair is coming in at 135 UK, the Fractal was 110. So there's a £25 difference. Now, I have to say, from a personal point of view, because I'm a water cooler, I would be happy to pay that to have those extra radiator options in the roof. It wouldn't limit me, but not everyone water cools. But as I said at the beginning, you do kind of end up expecting to pay a little bit of a premium with Corsair. And, you know, it's kind of difficult because I'm trying not to make it sound like an advert or anything like that, but it's a really, and I'm trying not to swear because people say my cursing's annoying them now, but it's a bloody good case, and that we know that people just fall over themselves to go and get these things. And other than this grommet, I have to say I've got very, little that I don't like about it. I could get really nitpicky and say that when you touch the aluminium on your front with your finger, it will take like a layer of skin off your finger. Not hurt, but it just rubs a layer of skin off your finger. But you've only got to wipe it away again. Some people aren't going to like the alley look on the front. Some people aren't going to like the fact it's square. But I have to admit, I really liked the 350D. The 900D is a good case, but it's massive. It's ginormous. I think this is a lovely stopping point in between from going from, a small kind of form factory sort of case. It's a nice stopgap between the, the gigantic, the kind of overly big. I think, for 135 quid, this is going to sell like chuffing hotcakes. People are going to be changing the fans to the Corsair AF fans, so that they've got coloured rings everywhere. I mean, this rig, to be fair, it looks lush. I want to use it, and it's so nice that it's not mega expensive. It is just the right sort of size. It actually comes in smaller than Orca, but out of the box, it's got more options for cooling and stuff in there. And like I said, the roof's not all offset, and you've not got the radiator going in front of the window or anything, but you can get that H100 in push-pull in the roof, which is probably what most people are going to end up in. This is either push-pull or a single set of fans. Whereas in the Fractal, it would have been sat right over here and, sat in front of the window. This is nice and tidily out the way. You can see, a little ring of fans there. Most of the windows all about your kit, which is kind of what it should be. And like that, this slightly smoked window, if you were to stick white LEDs in here, which is what I keep saying, and people keep saying, why about white LEDs, especially with that smoked window, what it will do is it will just make all of these little red bits on the motherboard, on the RAM sticks, although I found out these tops of the Vengeance Pro pull off today, and I was just like, sat there for ages, keep pulling them on and off. So, the red bits on the RAM and the cables and like a bit on the graphics card and stuff, all of those little bits of red are just going to get lit up and illuminated by that white light, and it will just make it all look so classy. So yeah, anyway, wicked case. I actually really like it. I would go as far now as to say, out of the Obsidians, this one is my favourite, plain and simple, because more people are going to buy it than all the other ones. This thing is just going to be all over the fucking internet by the time that they get, released in the shops and everything like that. And to the point, I've actually been looking at this going, what could I do with it then? And I've got to admit, it has got the old, the juice is flowing, and it is making me want to build in one, which recently is quite a rare thing as well. Because I have got to the kind of point where I'm thinking to myself, do I want to retire Orca because of the coolant problems, the hot chocolate problems, as it's kind of commonly known. But anyway, so it's an unquestionable gold award with this one. Mechanical hard drives you can swap in and out if you want them, or if you don't want them. You can put extra fans in the bottom, and there is ample room down here as well. If you want, you could probably get a fan underneath if you were stupid enough. But so you can do that. People will say about putting a radiator in the bottom, but the fan gaps are a little bit too big. And to be fair, I wouldn't bother anyway. I would just go with that front. And if you've got solid state drives and mechanical drives, you can obviously still have your thing there, and that's another reason why when I measured to the grommets, that was because then you could still get a drive cage in there as well. So George has pulled out another master stroke, to be fair, and I'm waiting to see what happens next. I've kind of got ideas in my head already. Oh no, I can't, because I will get in trouble. But yeah, I've got kind of an inkling what's going to kind of come next anyway. But we will have to see. So yes, absolutely love it. It's really nice to see a range now. Like I said, I've kind of done the ROG range with this as well, because we've got the the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, shut up. We've got the M80X, then we've got the 80X, and then we've got the XL80X. If only there was a smaller one. I've done it now. Anyway, so I'm going to love you and leave you. Epic, epic case. Yeah, you may end up seeing this in the not too distant future. We are going to be doing the Rampage Formula review. This GTX 770 is off to TJ Harlow. Just so you know, he's actually having the 770 and Maximus Extreme. That's what I'm sending him. You will be getting videos from him in the not too distant future. But I have got the 780 DCU2 to be reviewed in the not too distant future as well. Hopefully pretty soon. The power supply reviews are going to be getting kicked off as well, because I have got the power supply tester and I'm waiting for my RM power supplies to turn up. There was a confusion in ordering and I didn't get ordered the press pack ones, and anyway, but there's stuff on the way. We are going to be doing power supply reviews. How I'm going to go about it, I don't know yet. But 135 quid, OC3D Gold Award, absolute no-brainer. I love it. Double thumbs up. This is it. This is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out. Ding! Ding! There we go. I like that. Ding!